everybody, and I guess good afternoon, and happy International Archives Day. Thank you for those of you who have been with us since this morning. Thanks for those of you who are just joining us on Facebook Live and Instagram Live, and joining us here in person to celebrate just a really incredible day for us here at the Great American Songbook Foundation. Just a quick background, normally our International Archives Day is a chance for archivists to kind of share information back and forth about their collections, about what they do. We've decided to invite you in for the behind the scenes of what we do, what items we have here, and also what on earth Anna and I both do as we work in the archive. Now, this presentation is just a little bit different. If you were here for What is an Archive this morning, you learned that we are a safe space for historical items and documents to live and be preserved and also be displayed and used for different researchers, as well as different activities and events like this today. This is a little different because this is what happens when you don't have an archive. So this is the one chance that I get to show you all the really gross stuff that happens when you don't have an archive, and that means you don't have humidity controls, you don't have a dry, safe area, you don't have blocked sunlight. This is everything that can happen. Disclaimer, the things I show you today are not part of our collection. Most of them I have damaged myself in the last week, and a couple of things were perhaps brought in as a donation and then said, we have something, the exact same thing, better condition, but we're gonna hold on to this for a very gross presentation that Emily's gonna do. So, the first thing that a lot of people think of when they think of archival damage is, well, why does it happen so frequently and so consistently? A lot of people keep their beautiful records and historical documents in basements, in attics, in storage facilities, and right now I'm sure people are going, oh no, I keep my stuff in those places. That's fine. Check on them once in a while. A lot of our things kind of come in and they haven't been seen in 30, 40, 50 years, and you start to notice, oh my gosh, I guess there was water damage there. It's a little too late for us to go back and save it. But some other things, like I mentioned, water damage tends to be the big one. The first thing you'll notice about water damage is initially everything starts to crinkle up. So this is actually a copy of a set list from a tour in 1989. It is Frank, Liza, and Sammy. And this little guy's had a bunch of water damage to him. Thank goodness some of the other in the donation were not water damaged at all, so we have those saved very safely in archival boxes and in archival plastics. Some other water damage that happens is, unfortunately, to some music. So this is You Brought a New Kind of Love for Bob Hope, and you'll see it's not only starting to crack, but there's actually mold on this actual paper and throughout the whole thing. A couple of questions I've had people ask actually here today is, well, how do you save this? Can you possibly save it to bring it back into your collection? The problem is you don't want to introduce the mold to an area that's already safe from all the mold. So we will do a couple of different things. A, we'll look for some that aren't as damaged, like these, and they are different parts, but we at least get the idea of the arrangements. Or we take some pictures and digitize them. So then we have it forever saved exactly as it was, and then these migrate their way out of the safe archival space. For a lot of people, when you think mold, you think paper, you think boxes, and we get a lot of that in the archives donation world. But other things can mold, including vinyl, can get mold all over it. And the problem is if you start to clean them with bleach, it starts to actually damage the item itself. So you are potentially losing the playability to try and save it. So what does that mean? We hunt for the recording somewhere else. And then again, this little guy makes a beautiful appearance today, and then we'll migrate out towards a trash can at some point, so it doesn't spread anything. I will also say I have cleaned my hands, and I'm not going to touch anything that's actually archival here until I go scrub them after this presentation. One of my nemesis that I like to talk about, because a lot of people don't think about it, is when you have a bunch of archival things and you try to save them, especially to donate them, you tape them, right? This is what happens to Scotch tape after a decade or two. It starts to get awful and flaky and brown. That includes, even if you try and use a cloth-based tape, the same things will start to happen, and then everything falls apart anyway, because eventually we all have a breakdown level. The other thing that gets in a lot of people's way as far as adding things to new collections, are rubber bands. And I was so grateful when my amazing music librarian, Anna, found this in a collection. The rubber bands get gooey, they get hard, they flake, they damage, they tear, but they're oh so useful if you're using them in the present, right? The other thing that also we find a lot of are paper clips. Metal paper clips will destroy and rust and tear everything. Staples do the same thing as well. So, if you're thinking about items that you have in your own personal collections, maybe start looking away from Office Depot and a little bit more towards archivally safe folders. You can find them online, which is so nice because they are so accessible. The other thing to look for when you're preserving your things is not only keeping the actual item safe, but also the area in which you're storing it. Is it cool? Is it dry? Can you control the humidity a little bit so you can avoid growth of a variety of things? And then the uncomfortable question is, are there any animals that are going to get into your things? I haven't found any animals here. I've only been here a little while, so fingers crossed that keeps up. But I have been known to find rats, bats, and bugs in a variety of different donations throughout my lifetime as an archivist. And I did bring some buggy friends for all of you today. And these are real. We did find these in our actual garage in the archive, so you can thank, actually, I'm going to call her out, our intern, Brienne, who just graduated from Museum Studies at IUPUI, was our bug person. And she would change all of our bug traps to make sure that these little guys didn't crawl into anything. But then would also alert us to very, very dangerous types of bugs that would start eating away at paper and eating away at archival collections. So just a couple of things to keep in mind when you're archiving and saving your own things, but also if you're looking to donate, good things to keep in mind that make our lives easier to want to take your things and add them to our collection. If you want to see what happens when you're a fabulous archive and have everything under control, you can look at all of the things we have on display here. They're in beautiful condition. And also, if you are interested in any specific items on how to save things, where to buy them, what types of things to look for, please swing by my table over there. I've got some examples out of archivally safe boxes, plastics, and a variety of other tools that you can use to save your stuff. Thanks so much for celebrating International Archives Day with us today.